Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. Today we got our NFL team preview. It's the team down south where we live at right now. The beautiful city of Atlanta, Georgia, the home team, the Atlanta Falcons. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. Joining me to break down the Atlanta Falcons. He knows all about the organization. He played 12 years. He was a two-time All-American at Florida State University. First round pick or selection in the 1981 draft. And what I didn't learn, well, what I learned was he was the fastest guy in the draft based on his outstanding interview with Mr. Jesse Tuggle a few minutes ago. My man out of Delray Beach, Florida, Mr. Bobby Butler, as we're going to break down the Atlanta Falcons of the NFC South. How you doing today, Brother Butler?
I'm doing great, Vincent. How you doing, man?
Hey, man, I'm doing outstanding. Let's talk about your home team, man, the organization that you should know inside out.
well, let's talk about them, man. I tell you, I'm excited about the Atlanta Falcons in the year 2020. But let's talk about last year a little bit, and then we'll evolve into to our to where we're going with them. Well, let's start with this. The story of the 2020 Atlanta Falcons has got to start, Vincent, with the offensive line. Last year, they did not play well, right? They posted the worst pass block grade. They posted the worst, run block grade in the Matt Ryan era, right? So that's the worst he's ever had. And because of that, he didn't play as stellar as we want him to play. And so I think, though, with the guys that they have, first of all, when we talk about the offensive line, they got an all-star in Jake Matthews, right? He's strong at left tackle. And then a center, Alex Mack, they're two of the best offensive linemen in the league at their positions, bar none. So we have those two, but we haven't invested a lot of money in our O-line. It just hadn't paid dividends quite so yet. But we got 2 first-round picks, right? We got Caleb McGarry, and then, he should step in and develop, a little bit better this year. And then we have Chris Lindstrom, right? Those two guys with a little bit more time, they're going to develop and be all that we thought they were going to be. I believe the investment is going to pay off with those two guys, right? And then we're going to look at the competition this year between James Carpenter and Matt Hennessy, who's a 3rd-round pick this year out of Temple. So I think our offensive line is going to find that chemistry, is going to find that gel, and going to come back and perform a whole lot better than they did last year. That being said, I'm expecting Matt Ryan to have a stellar year this coming season, right? Matt Ryan, I don't know how many of you guys know this or not, because I know when you talk about Matt Ryan, he's not in the league with the GOAT. He's not in the league with Aaron Rodgers. He's not in the league with some of these guys. But Matt Ryan, statistically, is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play. He will go out as the best quarterback in Falcon history. He reached 40,000 yards passing earlier than any quarterback in the history of the game. So let's not take it light what he does for the Atlanta Falcons. I really believe after last year's struggling, I believe with the improvement of our offensive line, I believe Matt Ryan can have an MVP-like season this year. Because we know we let Devontae Freeman go. We released Devontae Freeman, old Florida State guy. I love him, but they got rid of him. But they brought in one of the best backs in all of pro football, a local from the University of Georgia, Mr. Todd Gurley. We can't go wrong with him. He's one of the best backs in the league. And let me tell you what else about Todd Gurley that I like. He's more of a complete back. You can pass him the ball out the backfield. He's just not one-sided. So I don't have to take him out on 3rd down unless I'm just resting him, Vincent. I like that about Todd Gurley. I think him being back home, him being in the dome, he's going to be hyped this year. But along with him in that running back room, we have Brian Hill, who played well, and we got Ito Smith, who can just flat out take it the distance anywhere. So our running back room is real solid. But the best room we got on our skill position is our wide receiver group, man. Julio Jones, hands down. There's no doubt. I mean, we can talk about some other guys. We can talk about some numbers for some other guys. But Julio Jones is the monster in the room, right? And so he's the best all-around receiver in the league, no doubt. Then we have, from the 954, Mr. Calvin Ridley, right? This guy is going to be so good. He'll put it this way. This guy, I believe, will score more touchdowns than Julio Jones. He'll catch more touchdown passes than Julio. I mean, you can strike with him and put it in the end zone just like that. Excellent number 2 wide receiver. Could be a number 1 on some teams, right? Excellent number 2 wide receiver. And then that third receiver, Russell Gage and Laquan Treadwell, are going to battle for that position. But either one of those guys can pay dividends for the Falcons. But here's what happened. This past offseason, we lost Austin Hooper to free agency to the Browns, right? He's gone. But a lot of people think, oh, that production is going from the room. No. That production may even get better with Hayden Hurst, who came from the Baltimore Ravens this offseason, out of the University of South Carolina. Go Gamecocks. This young man here can catch the ball, and let me tell you, not only catch it, but you got to see him run after the catch. He may be eventually the best yak tight end in the whole league, right? So their offense is going to be improved. They got the skill positions to do so, right? And so I'm looking for the Atlanta Falcons from an offensive standpoint to go to the next level this year. From a defensive standpoint, all right, here's the deal. On our D-line, we have one of the best interior linemen in the National Football League. And that's Mr. Jesse Tuggle's son, Grady Jarrett, right? And so he's one of the best. Vic Beasley is gone, all right? Takarius McKinley, Tat McKinley, I'm going to tell you something about him, Vincent. He's going to be on a short leash this year. He got to get it done this year, all right? He's got to produce this year. But they added Dante Fowler from the Rams. That's going to be a grade up for us. And then Charles Harris from the Dolphins this offseason, right? But look for second-round pick Marlon Davidson out of Auburn. Now, remember this. The defensive linemen that come from Auburn, they end up being pretty good pro football players, right? They got that thing in them. They got that dog. You know, they produce some of the best interior D linemen in the history of the game. So look for Marlon Davidson to pay dividends for them as well, right? The linebacker room, one of the best rooms on the Falcons. Put it this way. This group is one of the best linebacking core in the whole National Football League, led by Mr. Deion Jones out of LSU. Athletic, not a very big guy. He is so good in open space. And here's the thing. When I look at how he defended the pass, Vincent, this dude right here is like a cornerback. He's got something like 24 pass defense in his short career and 10 picks. He's a middle linebacker. So what is that telling me? He's great in pass coverage, and he can get to the ball. He's got great feet. He's very athletic, right? And then you got this young guy who's proven to be the next best thing in Forsade Olakun, right? Out of Yale University. I have a chance to meet this guy one day. I'm highly impressed with this young man. I think he's about to take his game to another level. He's ready for the big time now. He's been splitting time, but it's time for the split to be over. He's finna take his game to another level. This kid also ran the 4.440 at the NFL Combine when he came out. So he's very athletic. Gotta be one of the most athletic linebacker rooms in the league, right? And then you got Deion Buchanan. He'll be in the mix. But remember, 4th round pick out of Fresno State, Mykal Walker, to add to this group. Now, he played a lot of edge stuff over at Fresno, but he played inside too. He can play anywhere you put him. He's that kind of a linebacker, right? The secondary, well, Desmond Trufant is gone. They released him. He's with the Lions now. But we drafted my man, Mr. A.J. Terrell, from Clemson University, hometown of Atlanta, Georgia. They brought him home to begin his pro career. I'm looking for nothing but great things out of this young man. I think he's got the potential to be something special in the National Football League. I think he's a potential Pro Bowler, Vincent, in this game, right? And it's going to just add to his game when he practices against Julio and Calvin. Every day he's going to be practicing against those caliber receivers. He's going to only get better, right? He's going to only get better. And then on the other side, they got Mr. Isaiah Oliver, right, who had a rough year last year. But guess what? He got experience last year. So I think he'll be back in a big way. But here's the thing. Mr. Canute Neal from the University of Florida, not one of my favorite college teams, but he's a good one from down there, right? He's a Pro Bowler, right? He'll be back after injury. He'll be a lot better. So he's gonna really grow the secondary, and we're gonna need his leadership back there. But then at the free safety, man, we got some choices, right? We got DeMonte Casey, right, who's good. But the guy I really like is Ricardo Allen. He's a proven, savvy veteran. Very highly into his football IQ is off the charts. He's smart and intelligent. So they got two of those guys. So our secondary is sound, right? And so I'm liking what I see out of the Falcons, Vincent, right? I think we're going to exceed our expectations this year. I mean, everybody now, the noise in the NFC South, man, all we're talking about is the New Orleans Saints, And then when we're not talking about New Orleans Saints, we're talking about the GOAT down there in Tampa, right? That's all we're talking about. That's okay. Keep talking about them. But I believe this Falcon team is going to exceed their expectations, and they're going to make the playoffs this year. I think Matt Ryan going to have an MVP caliber year this year. I think this team right here is going to be the talk of the league in 2020. That's my analysis of the Atlanta Falcons.
Well, as always, you gave a tremendous outlook and really analysis of your team. You played 12 years, Brother Butler. You got a lot of love for them. You got a lot invested. And by the way, you're from Delray Beach. Now you consider your home the 404, Atlanta, Georgia. But I'm going to talk about the Atlanta Falcons. I think this Falcons team, I like them because they're young. Think about when they went to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. They had a couple of rookies that were starting, Deion Jones, Grady Jarrett, Jalen Collins, who's not with the squad, but they were a young football team, and they had a lot of energy. And by the way, I like their head coach, Dan Quinn.
Yes.
Regardless what he's came under here in Atlanta, and I mean, he's came under a lot of pressure. But when I look at it, it's not a lot of coaches in this league that's got their team to the Super Bowl. And I'm saying that comment for somebody out there that's on another station who be killing Dan Quinn. You know who I'm talking about. You played at the University of Georgia. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. And you played quarterback. And if you want to see me, you can see me. To me, Dan Quinn is an excellent football coach. Look at his track record when he was at defensive coordinator in Florida. He put 3 guys in the league. Sharif Floyd, Dante Fowler Jr., I can't think of the other young man right now, Dominique Easley. Then think about when he was out there in Seattle, when he had that 2013 defense. He had my homeboy from the 901, Clint McDonald. He had Tony McDaniel. He had Cliff Averill. He had Bruce Irvin. So the guy hasn't lost, I think, anything defensively. I think he's invested in some pieces on defense, some draft picks that just haven't panned out. And that's no disrespect. That you know yourself, Brother Butler, that happens in this league.
That happens.
So that being said, I think he's got a special football team. It's plain and simple. You brought up the key point from the start. It's going to be all about their offensive line. Matt Ryan has proved to y'all, if he has time, he's not a top 10 quarterback. He's a top 5 quarterback because he can get it there. And like I said, you can't have Matt Ryan getting hit 135 times last year. He took 48 sacks. But when I say this about Matt Ryan, I was kind of apprehensive when he got drafted some years ago. I was a Mike Vick fan. I'm not going to tell you no lie. And I didn't think he would replace Mike Vick or anybody who's under center with the Atlanta Falcons. But let me tell you something. He is the best guy that's been in the Sun and Falcons history. And I'm not talking about his statistics, but his toughness, his heart. And he's a guy that hasn't complained. And that's what leadership is about. So it's proven if the offensive line can protect him, I like the offensive pieces they have. Roll Tide. Kevin Ridley is going to be a star.
That's right.
Todd Gurley, they talk about his knee. But when he's healthy, remember 2017, he was the offensive player of the year.
Yeah, that's right.
Then I'm going to talk about the young man out front from Foley, Alabama. Went to the same high school as Kent the Snake Stable. When Roddy Jones retired, I thought this young man, I didn't know, did he have enough to take to be a number one receiver? But I love him to death. And his name is Julio Jones. And I'm going to say this. I've seen a lot of great receivers come through the National Football League. And Brother Butler, you can help me. Bob Hayes, Lance Alworth, Cliff Branch, Lynn Swan, Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, Antonio Brown. A lot of people saying him. And the guy from Ena Bena, Mississippi Valley, Jerry Rice. But this young man, Julio Jones, he might be the best I've seen ever play the game. If anybody want to contest me, the young man, 6 straight years of 1,400 yards receiving. On 2 teams that went 7-9 during that cycle, Brother Butler, tell me how great that is with Julio Jones.
Well,
go ahead, sorry.
It don't get any better than that, right? And here's the thing about Julio. Julio, when he was in high school, he was a grown man physically, right? If you get a chance to see Julio Jones up close and personal, you'll be asking, why is he not playing defensive line or something? Why is he not playing linebacker? He's that kind of physical specimen. But this guy is fast. This guy knows how to run routes. This guy is tough. I mean, he's a complete package. There's no other person in the league that can compare with Julio Jones.
And to me, I'm a Jerry Rice fan. And let me tell you something. From an athletic standpoint, Jerry Rice is not even on level this young man. And think about this. A lot of people are saying, well, Julio doesn't put up the production from a touchdown standpoint. But when you look at the yards and how much he's meant to a team offensively over the last 6-7 years, and think about this, until Kevin Ridley got there, he really has never had an outstanding number 2. And think about this. I always, and you know this, Brother Butler, you played in the league. It's always about competition. Go back and look what Julio did against Patrick Peterson. Put 220 on him one time.
Right.
Go back when the Carolina Panthers was running their mouth a couple of years ago in the Dome. He put, about 300?
Right, that's right.
He doesn't do any talking. He produced. And to me, he's the best receiver that's laced him up.
Absolutely.
Now, as far as the offensive line, they're young. Jake Matthews is a quality left tackle. But for they line to take another level, the young man out of Boston College and the young man out of the Pac-12, the University of Washington, Chris Listom and Caleb McGarry got to take it to the next level. And if they do that, this offense is going to soar like a bird, like they were in 2016. They're going to put some points on some people. Now, from a defensive standpoint, it's very simple. In this league, you got to get after the quarterback.
You got to get him.
And I think Dante Fowler is going to bring that up because remember this, who recruited him and who did he play his freshman year under? Him and Dan Quinn has a special relationship.
Right, yes.
And you brought up Mr. Marlon Davidson. Everybody talked about Derek Brown over there at Auburn the last couple of years, how great a football player he was. But let's don't really understand that Marlon Davidson had a lot to do with that. And then you got Charles Harris, who's a former first-round pick. And then the young man out of UCLA, he's at the end of his last rope. And I know he's got to be cheesing at the mouth, Mr. Todd McKinley.
Right.
He's going to represent out there in L.A. I think they're going to have a real strong D-line that's going to get after people. Deion Jones, as you said, Brother Butler, is special. Their secondary is very simple. The young man who I saw playing high school in Westlake, by way of Clemson, the pressure is going to be on him. He's got to solidify that secondary, and he's going to have to be that lockdown guy. And we're going to find out about him real quick because they open up against Seattle. He's going to play against DJ Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Then in the second week, he's going to go up against C.D. Lamb, Amari Cooper, and Michael Gallup. And in the fourth week, he's going to play against Devontae Adams. We're going to find out a lot whether or not A.J. Terrell is that guy. But I'm going to tell you about A.J. Terrell. I'm not going to lie here today as we break down the Falcons. Now, this young man who played 12 years in the league, we had a little disagreement before the national championship game. And this man is very high on A.J. Terrell. But I said, Brother Butler, maybe you need to slow down. I wasn't stepping on his shoes because remember, I'm just Vincent Turner out of 901, and this gentleman played 12 years in the league. He said, trust me, Vincent. He's going to be an outstanding player. Now, that didn't happen in the national championship game, but this young man, Mr. Butler, texted me during the game and said, that's all right. You're going to have games like that. Let's erase that game. But what I like about A.J. Terrell, what I did, I went back to the previous national championship game where he played against Jerry Jeudy.
That's right.
Jalen Watley, Devontae Smith, and he was the best player on the field that night.
Handling his business.
So I like the length. 6'1", 190 pounds, 4'4" guy. I think he's going to be the guy that's going to grow up real quick. I think if he plays well in the secondary, I think Isaiah Oliver follows the trait. I think Kendall Sheffield follows the trait. I think Mr. Neal becomes a better football player. I think Ricardo Allen becomes a better football player because, Bobby, you got to have a guy that can lock down and set the tone in the secondary.
Absolutely.
This Falcons team, I like them. Everybody's counting them out, even the hometown fans are blasting them. But I love the head coach, Dan Quinn.
Yes.
I'm a Dan Quinn fan because I'm going to say this one more time. You name me a lot of coaches and they even got their team to the Super Bowl. It's not many in the second year. He's had some bumps, but the one killing statistic, and I want every other sports fan, every other analysis in this town, every other competition in this town, and you know what I'm talking about. Your other stations have been killing Coach Quinn. His team was 1-7. They could have easily tapped out.
Right.
But they came back and they ended up 6-2 in the second half. And they beat New Orleans and they beat the team that went to the Super Bowl. And it showed me them young guys, them Falcon players didn't quit on Coach Quinn because they like him.
Yes.
And they respect him.
Right.
So all your people that's down the Dirty Birds and down Coach Quinn, is always a saying, what comes around goes around.
That's right.
The song by the famous OJs, Backstabbers. You hype you getting stabbed in the back.
What they doing?
I think the Falcons are going to be a playoff team, and I think they're going to be very dangerous.
Absolutely.
Brother Butler, final words.
That's my final word, Vincent. They are going to be a playoff team this year, and people are going to look out for it. And I'm glad nobody in the league, in particular, are looking at them to do anything. Right. So we got a seasoned veteran quarterback. We got a seasoned veteran defensive team. Hey, look, man, I'm excited. I can't wait to see this season, man, because it's going to be a lockdown drag out. Falcons. I got the Falcons 10-6 on the worst end, 11-5 on the other end. I think we'll be a playoff team.
I think the Falcons will be 10-6. Anytime you have a player, Julio Jones caliber,
right,
especially from the offensive standpoint, that you got a game plan and that can change the game at any moment, you got a chance.
Right.
And all I'm going to say is this. If the Falcons are a little bit more better on both sides of the ball at the line of scrimmage, this is going to be a very dangerous team.
Right. Absolutely.
So that being said, it's always a pleasure to come into your rooms every week. And thank you to everybody associated with 100 Yards Football. Kevin Jones, you did an outstanding job today with the Brad Lester interview. Of course, Brother Butler did an outstanding job interviewing, I consider my Hall of Fame, Mr. Jesse Tuggle. And the gentleman that's coming up behind us, who does the basketball segment, Mr. Brian Spencer, with his special guest, Mr. Derek Phelps, who won a national championship with North Carolina, is coming up. And to our producer, Mr. Jeremiah Daniel Long, thank you. And to Mr. Logan Landers, who also does an outstanding job behind the scenes. And my man, who I love to death, from Brooklyn, I don't know the area code, Mr. Ronnie Keeble. And of course, you know how I end the show, Brother Butler. From the greatest town, Memphis, Tennessee, to 901, and I'm representing the blue and white of 586. If you like the Brother Butler, you want to send out shouts to your hometown?
So let's send some shouts to the 561 and what I'm representing here.
Show it up. NFL alumni, baby.
NFL alumni, baby.
You got to give it up. There's a lot of us haven't played in the league. Only a very few. When I say a few, that's an honor to a great man here from Florida State, Mr. Butler. If you like the video today, please come in and share. And one more thing, I want to send shout outs to my cousin from Chicago, Illinois. She just came on the screen, Mrs. Sandra Evans Washington. Thank you for supporting us today. We are 100 Yards of Football. God bless and have a wonderful